Welcome to this video that you've stumbled across, because do you really know what day it is? Do you know where you are? Are you still in that Christmas haze? Are you ready for the new year? In this video, I'm going to be helping you with that weird in-between stage of from Christmas to New Year's, which you're probably right in the middle of as you're watching this video. I have got 10 book recommendations, 5 books I have read, 5 books I haven't, because it was fun when I did that before. These are book recommendations that I think are fun, fast-paced, entertaining, gripping reads that are perfect for filling the weird week in between when we just don't know the day of the week. I'm going to jump right in and show you. These are all books that I believe are going to be fast-paced and just entertaining fun. So let's see what we've got, and hopefully you guys can take some good recommendations from these and give your days that much needed bibliophile direction. Let's start with the ones I have read. First up is Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is set in a small English town and it follows Pip, who is an amateur detective doing an extended project on the murder of a young girl by potentially a young guy who she is trying to basically prove the innocence of within this book. Pip wants to try and prove that there is more to this story than was first said and basically clear the name of the guy that everyone says did it. This is a fantastic YA thriller. It had me completely gripped. It gave me goosebumps. The sequel is just as good, which I think is a hard feat to do because often the sequel can't ever be as good. But in this situation, it is. This is such a good series. I absolutely love it. Pip as a character is very likeable. She's a bit know-it-all-y and there's certainly attributes to her that you should find annoying, but are just lovable. I definitely recommend this one as an in-between book for the next week because you will not be able to put this down, I guarantee you, and you will just want to read it all within a day. Then I would be recommending you Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This is a graphic novel comic-esque series. Now, that's the kind of illustrations inside. I don't know if that means it's a graphic novel or a comic. I never know the differentiation between the two. Someone tell me. But this is the first of, I believe there's 3 out at the moment, and these are telling a love story between 2 guys who meet within this book and form a relationship throughout the kind of world of Heartstopper. This is the first one, and as I said, there are 2 others, but there's also 2 novellas as well. And then there's a main book that is about one of the other characters. There's a whole universe that Alice Oseman has created around these 2, with other characters as well that we follow. I this month have read This Winter and Nick and Charlie. Both are fantastic. I read this one probably last year at some point, and now I'm going to be continuing on with the series because of how much I enjoyed the novellas. The reason I'm putting this in here is because it's just an easy, cute, contemporary read, and also the fact that it is in this graphic novel comic-esque format means that if your brain is not really working at 100% right now and you're just not really sure what you fancy, then this is a really easy one to be able to pick up and just jump straight into. On that same line, I'm also recommending Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. This is one of the novellas that follow Nick and Charlie from the Heartstopper series, and I absolutely love this. I read this one after I read This Winter and many years after this one, and it made absolute sense to me still. I just really enjoyed following their story. It's got little illustrations in it as well on some of the pages, but not all. So it's, again, really short, really easy to read and just fun. It just feels like an enjoyable short YA contemporary. And I'm not a massive fan of YA contemporaries, yet Alice Oseman every time. I love her writing. Next up is a fantasy. It's Vicious by Victoria Schwab. This is the first in the duology, Vengeful is the second. This series is probably one of my favourites and I need to reread it. This deals with the difference between a hero and a villain and what makes a hero and a villain. If you like X-Men and you like superhero abilities, then read this book. It follows 2 differentiating characters, Eli and Victor, and I suppose they both see themselves as the heroes of their own story, but we, the reader, may align one of them to a hero, may align one to a villain. There's lots of different morals going on here, but they have developed extraordinary abilities and they are called EOs. There are other people that have these abilities as well, and it's about how they discover these abilities and how they use them and what good they should be bringing and the morality of it all, really. It's such a fun series. The reason I'm putting it in here is because I absolutely adore reading or watching things where people have different abilities. When I first watched the X-Men films, I was obsessed with the idea that everyone had their own ability and nobody could really do the same thing, and it was all like everyone had these slight different tweaks. Like if you ever watched the X-Men films, there was this kid that blinked and changed the channel on the TV versus someone that could fly. Like I feel like he got off not so well. I'd rather be able to fly than blink and change the channel on the TV. But then again, if you could fly, there's not really that many places you'd be able to go and safely do that unless you were at Professor X's school. Anyway, it's such a fun series if you've not read it yet. Victoria Schwab is just a brilliant, brilliant writer, and I think this is probably my favourite of hers. And finally, of the books I have read, we have got My Lady Jane. This is by multiple authors. It's by Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton and Jodie Meadows. This is a hilarious historical fiction about a very, very sad story, but it's kind of flipped around in a completely different direction. This follows Lady Jane Grey, who was queen for a day in the Tudor reign. Now in real life, Jane Grey did not have a good life / end of life, but this book gives a completely hilarious spin. I read this when I was in Canada years ago, and I've never forgotten how much it made me laugh. The combination of these authors creates just pure comedy and enjoyment, and takes something very, very sad and tragic and teaches people about it with a pinch of salt, because there are a lot of things that didn't happen in this book, like a lot. But it still makes you more aware of the fact that there was this moment in history that went in a different direction. It's just hilarious. This book got so much hype when it came out. Obviously it's been out for quite a while now, I think about 4 or 5 years. But if you haven't heard of it, or you think that you're just looking for something that is sheer hilarity, pick this up. Historical comedy fiction. Emphasis on the fiction part. Next up is 5 books I have not yet read. So you could say this is my TBR, because these are the books that I've decided, whilst trying to prep this video, I'm going to be bringing home with me for the in-between stage. I don't know how long I'm going to be home, but I'm bringing 5 books with me. First up is Garth Nix's Sabriel. I bought this one after really enjoying the Left-Handed Booksellers of London and wanted something else to sink my teeth into by Garth Nix. So this is the one I picked up because this is the first in a series of many, many other books. It's a fantasy and it sounds fantastic. From what I can understand, the general premise of this is a young girl who is the main character has to save the day by entering death. From what I can see, people are dying and are not staying dead, and her dad has this role as a magical protector and he needs her help, and to help she has to enter death. I'm intrigued. I know little more than that, but I really enjoyed Garth Nix's writing for the Left-Handed Booksellers of London, so I'm hoping I will enjoy this one too. This next one's a bit of a curveball, but I saw it on my bookshelves and thought, I'm gonna go for this because I've had this on my shelf all year and I really, really want to read something by this author. And usually the end of year / start of year reads that I get to are sometimes the more heavy reads for me because I feel like I'm most motivated. And out of all of the ones on this stack, I've said that all of the books I'm recommending are light, fun reads. This one is probably not quite so much light and fun, but it looks really interesting and a bit different. I've got no idea if it's going to be heavy at all because I've never read this author before. Oh, the anticipation! It is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I bought 2 of Haruki Murakami's books back in the summer because I want to create my translated fiction master list that I'm working on. Now, the premise of this sounds really, really interesting, but because I've never read his writing before, I have got absolutely no idea what to expect. He is obviously a very well-regarded author. I don't know if he's going to be my kind of an author or not, but the premise of this seems to be that the main character hears a Beatles song, reminisces about an old girlfriend and is suddenly pushed back in time 20 years and given the opportunity to make his decisions all over again. So the reason I'm putting this one in is because it looks like it's a reflective novel, and I like those kind of things at the end of the year because it's a time to reflect. I don't know if I'm going to pick this one up or not, and again, I have got absolutely no idea what to expect. I certainly don't think this is going to be a thriller-minute, fun, fast-paced book, so yes, it kind of is different from literally every other book I'm recommending you here, but I'm still putting it in because it looks really interesting. And I suppose this is also sort of a TBR for me for the next 2 weeks or so. So next up is one that I'm really, really excited about. I actually just unboxed this as part of a little Christmassy unboxing thing from gifts sent from you guys, which was super, super generous. This one was sent to me by Imi from Mythical Reader, and I cannot wait to get to it, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. This is an adult contemporary, which I'm very excited about because for some reason when I first saw this, I thought it was a YA contemporary. It's not, it's adult, which is great because I'm getting a lot more into adult contemporary than I am YA. This is by Talia Hibbert and it follows Chloe Brown, who has basically created a list of how to get a life, and she enlists this guy to help her achieve the things on the list. So the list contains enjoy a drunken night out, ride a motorbike, go camping, have meaningless but thoroughly enjoyable sex, travel the world with nothing but hand luggage, and do something bad. So she enlists this guy called Redford Red Morgan, and he's going to help her achieve the things on this list. I have heard nothing but good things about this, and honestly I'm very, very excited to read it. As soon as I saw it was an adult book, yes. As I've said before, YA contemporary, I'm still really enjoying certain ones like Alice Osman, but generally I am way more identifying and leaning towards adult contemporary because the situations that people find themselves in can be a lot more relatable. Not necessarily saying the get a life list of riding a motorbike, go camping is going to be relatable for everyone. However, there's going to be more adult things happening in this book that I feel are going to be enjoyable to read about, as I myself am an adult. I know, I find it hard to believe too. But this one, excited to read this one, it looks fun. This next book is another gift. This one was sent by Nikki from the TBR Hoarder. She sent me this one for my wish list and I'm super excited to read this. It is another comic graphic novel-esque book and it is Book Lover by Debbie Tung. This looks so cute. The animation drawings inside are just excellent. I love the art style. It's so simple but cute. And this is basically about a book lover and I'm super excited to read it because it's just fun, cute, short, and it looks like it's just gonna be the perfect in-between. Again, something that you don't overly have to think about and can just sit and enjoy. The final one is one I have said before that I'm hoping to read this winter. So I'm hoping that maybe the in-between period will give me a chance to read this because it is a thriller and I think thrillers can be read quite fast, hopefully. This is One by One by Ruth Ware. This follows some people that are trapped in a cabin in the middle of an avalanche or a snowstorm or something. They can't get out due to snow and there's some arguments coming to light and basically the question is asked if they would end up killing somebody to protect themselves or to hide a secret, something along those lines. Basically, do they have the power to kill someone in this weird situation they're stuck in? It looks like a fantastic thriller. It's got snowflakes on the side, so we know it's a wintry book, but the reason it's in these recommendations is because I think it's going to be a really fast-paced read, which is, again, what we want for this time in between Christmas and New Year's. So those are my book recommendations. 5 books I have read, 5 books I have not read. Hopefully you have found something there to inspire you. I'm aware you're watching this in the middle of this week anyway, but, you know, humour me, bear with me. I also hope you guys had an absolutely lovely Christmas. I am still wearing my Christmas hat. We've still had the Christmas intro. You'll have the Christmas outro because I'm milking it for as absolutely long as possible and I'm filming this before Christmas as well, so we're allowed to still feel festive. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what recommendations you would suggest, and you can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed. I think this might be the last video you see of me before the new year, so you know I'm gonna say it, it's gonna happen. Look away now if you don't want the cliche. I'll see you next year, and also keep smiling, stay positive, and I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.